115. We're demanding justice for Tyrone West and justice for all victims of police brutality. Tawanda, over to you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I appreciate you. Yeah, so just like my sister Queen just said, we're demanding accountability not just for my big brother, but literally for all the victims of police brutality. And tonight, for a short period, we will have our special guest, Brother Brock, who will be joining us momentarily to give us updates, real fast, quick updates about the upcoming event in DC that's happening. So if you guys will tune in, and I'm sorry, not tune in. I'm so tired. It's been a long day. I don't know if it's stuff that's in the air that got me just like exhausted. But anyway, nevertheless, if you guys can stay tuned, we're gonna play the video that we play every week. And I apologize because we do need to update that video because at the very end of it, it says, putting the weight on Marilyn Mosley, but we know that she's no longer in office. But please just tune in and we'll be back to you. Mic check.
Can't stop. Won't stop. Till killer cops are in cell blocks. Can't stop.
The following newly released video portrays an incident of assault and violence at the hands of police. Viewer discretion is advised.
I suggest you back the fuck up. No, why you
This is Baltimore City Police Officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz. In a newly released video shot in 2016, Ruiz is seen with his knee on the back of an unknown man with a gun pointed at the man's head. His message was a clear one. Concerned onlookers, adhere to my dictates or else. Here, we can hear Ruiz saying to Baltimore residents,
I suggest you back the fuck up.
It is documented that Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender, even without access to all complaints against Ruiz, undisclosed by BPD Internal Affairs records. 6 cases involving Ruiz are known. This video will briefly highlight 6 total cases beginning in July of 2013. Case 1, Abdul Salam, July 1st, 2013. Here Salam is seen victoriously smiling in celebration after the jury found Ruiz and 2 other cops liable for brutality against him. However, because the trial was civil, not criminal, Ruiz was not fired and he did not go to jail.
Police profiled me. They followed me in the back of my house, harassing me. Police proceeded to violently and hostilely approach my van with me and my son in it. As I announced, this was my home, guns drawn. Once they reached my vehicle, they violently pulled me out, ramshacked my vehicle with my 3-year-old son strapped in his car seat, threw me against the gate, slammed me repeatedly, picked me up by my feet, and while I'm upside down, they proceeded to drop me on my head, hog-tie me, and immediately when I fell on my head, Ruiz, in a wrestling type of action, and kind of hit his knee against my neck. I was arrested. I had no idea what I was being arrested for. My son is scarred to this day. He remembers the incident as it happened yesterday. When he talks about it, he always refers to Daddy being on the floor with police yesterday.
Case 2, Darrell Harris, profiled, as seen in this video, July 17th, 2013.
Yeah, Sid, what's wrong with it? Improper way with it. There's no such thing as an improper way.
You gonna tell me my job, bro?
I know the law.
Are you gonna tell me the law?
I know the law.
You gonna tell me the law?
I know the law. What's the problem? You giving me a ticket? You need my license registration?
Yeah, let me get it up.
The profile, y'all use the seatbelt as a reason. Profile.
Sir, do me a favor, take out your keys.
Hey, you can record for what? Nah. I don't feel safe right now. Do you want me to step out the car? Do you want me to step out the car? I'll step out the car. Call the police, man. What do you call a supervisor? I'm about to do shit. This is getting uploaded to the internet right now.
Yeah? And we are 2 law-abiding citizens that we are getting targeted, and
I don't know why.
Just 24 hours later, Bernardes Ruiz played a leading role in the police killing of unarmed Tyrone West. Case number 3, the murder of Tyrone West, July 18th, 2013.
My brother Tyrone West was brutally murdered on July the 18th, 2013.
In both of these cases, when you look at the pleadings and the harsh language of these officers that have been quoted to me by reliable witnesses, the N-word.
And Killer Ruiz and Killer Chapman and the rest of those 11 or 15 killers, including David Lewis, took something from my family that they could never give us again. And that was my brother Tyrone West, one unarmed man who was brutally murdered, beat to death in broad daylight. Mic check.
Mike.
Mic check.
Yes, mic check. So just watching that video as we watch it every week, it just like tonight really did something to me, and I guess I'm really emotional because we're coming on the 10-year commemoration of my brother's execution, and we still don't have accountability. Like it's ridiculous. Like, to know that all these cases of abuse are documented, like documented, and they still did nothing. And even when that video of Ruiz on a man that we don't even know, a victim that we don't even know, and he was kneeling on his neck, in that video, a video, I guess it happened in 2015 sometime, but it surfaced when George Floyd was murdered. And they played it on Murder Inc. And then, reporters hit me up because, I'm like, I know that ain't Ruiz, but long story short, and even after that, to think that, the commissioner flat out lied in my face and said that they was going to look into it and get back, and we're still on hold. Just the same way Marilyn Mosley disrespected my family. She had all the new evidence that she requested, and which I feel as though I shouldn't have to do anything. I shouldn't have to do anything. Like, that just pissed me off. I should not have to do nothing. But the fact that I went all the way out, bought her new information, and it's still rotting on her desk, and she's not even there. It's just sad and senseless violence, but at the hands of people that's supposed to serve and protect. And that's the part that breaks my heart. Like, he is a repeat violent offender. And I know we only highlight him, but I want every last 17 animals that participated in the brutal execution of my unarmed brother. It's just sad and disgusting. And as I think about getting closer to that 10-year mark, it is really devastating, heartbreaking, and it's sad. Nobody family should be going through this. Not mine, not Timothy Fleming's family, like no family like that is suffering and traumatized from these killer maniac cops. And they're not even trying to correct the problem. And that's why I felt it was very important tonight to bring my brother Brock from Mass Action, who I met him a few years ago, and we were out there in the streets, for George Floyd, and just different events in DC. And they have an upcoming event in less than 2 weeks that's literally coming up, and I want to bring him on tonight. So I'm going to check in with my sister to see if Brock is actually available right now.
He sure
Oh,
is.
good.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, brother, I respect your time because I know you got other obligations at 7:30 that we currently talked about. So if you could share the needed information, that if anybody wants to, join the activities that you have planned, and things of that nature, that would be awesome.
Yeah, sure. Till we win, it's the outgrowth of the action we did in that march to the Department of Justice in 2021. it's a different year, different time, different circumstances. So, you know, it's not going to be as big this year, but and we're doing it a little differently. We're going to rally right in front of the DOJ,
Nice.
and not going to be at the Washington Monument. So that's going to be from 11 to 2, and basically, other than that, it'll be similar. You know, all the families that are present will be speaking, and you know, hopefully, you know, we get as many to come out as possible. Over what is it now? Like 123 families have endorsed from 30 states nationally. I don't think it won't be that many people who are going to be able to make the trip this year. Finances are harder, you know, inflation and but you know, I think it's important. It's going to be the only real national action, you know, around this fight. At least this year, you know, it's going to focus on the DOJ and demand immediate action. So, you know, that's what we need to do more of, you know, and we're going to meet the following day. So everyone who's coming in from out of town will have a little more time to you know, network, get to know each other. And, you know, that's the other intention of the effort, is to help foster the development of, you know, this national movement so that we can working in conjunction, you know, work in coordination and with more more strategically, you know, in this fight going forward, which is now possible from a grassroots level, you know, with the families at the center. So that's really the idea behind it. But you know, it's a struggle to keep things going, and that's why I guess we got the right slogan: "Till we win," which is, you know, that's what you find in these fights. You know, there's a lot of dogs in these fights. You know, people who aren't going to let go of that bone, man, and are very committed. And you know, I guess, you know, it has to start with that. But more than commitment, you know, we need clarity. We need a vision. We need strategy, and we need more forces involved. You know, and to me, that's the possibilities that still exist, and it's the challenges. You know, I would say, you know, the state of things are less than what they could be right now. Even given, you know, whatever weaknesses there are, I think we could be doing a lot better. But I mean, there's reasons for how we got that way. We want to have this meeting the next day so we can have some of those frank discussions about, you know, the real history of this fight, you know, how opportunism, you know, has damaged this fight, but also how, you know, how we can continue to overcome it. And because, you know, that's a big tendency or desire by a section of this society, is the idea that this fight is just going to go away, you know, or that it was fake somehow. It wasn't really authentic, like that some of these opportunists and frauds that have been exposed are a true representation of what this fight really was and what it was about and where it came from, you know. It didn't come from Soros, you know, but Soros money was floating around, distorting things, and not necessarily in the interest of this fight either. So, but no, this came from deep, you know, within the people, and you know, it's a powder keg. It remains a powder keg. The main thing is that, you know, because we know it's a powder keg, you know, we should hopefully be a little bit more prepared than we were the last time, it exploded.
Mhm.
And if we are, we have a better chance of seeing some real historical change happen, because, what's happening is, it's of a historic magnitude.
Yes.
And people really got to let that sink in deep in their bones. Like, we're not living in,
Mhm.
we're living in a new period. And
Right.
there's the tendency is to be cynical and apathetic in the society, because there's been so much double crossing and defeats, and but that's not really what we've witnessed. What we witnessed was the complete opposite of that. We witnessed an outburst of, like, massive unity and
Yes.
and outrage, but
Mhm.
it didn't have a clear focus, and so it only achieved so much, and that's what we're trying to resolve some of those questions. That's what I think is going on here, and why it's so important. This fight, the fight of the families, this is the fight. If you talk to some people, you wouldn't even know that's the case. And that's part of the disorientation that we're kind of like working our way through. I think, not only on a mass level, but even among those closest to this fight. And I think the key part of that is, we just got to be a little bit more willing to just call things out and be accountable, or demand accountability in this fight of each other, of everyone involved, not just the government, because that's the only way we're going to be able to raise our level as a movement, is if we don't let the silly stuff, continue to, knock us off course, and make us lose our focus, or get misdirected. So, it's a process, though. I think this is part of it, and that's why it's so important. Everyone who is involved, to whatever extent, it may not seem like a lot of people, but it means so much. I think, with families who have, made it a priority or whatever, or just had the fortune, whatever it is, because some people want to come and just couldn't do it. But it's a true reflection of, I think, of the kind of the real, I don't know, just the real kind of the soul of this fight, man, the real honest intentions, the pure intentions of this fight, that people are united for a purpose, and everyone is making a sacrifice, for a greater good. I don't know. That's what I see reflected in this event, and how we did it in the past as well. But also, I think it has to be how the movement has to function, just in general, and the more, I would say, that's the other thing about it that it represents, is the coming together of really, a lot of the families that never really had a platform,
Right.
And over time, that voice is going to become the dominant voice of this fight, is just because it's almost like there's so many high profile families that's passe. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's so many cases, it's like everybody's, so it keeps proving the point that it's not just one case, and that's the point that, everybody's, screaming that, there's something deeply wrong with the country. It's not just some little reform that needs to take place. So I don't know. I just think the fight is inevitably going to continue and is inevitably going to explode again. And the more that we can start to build enough broad unity on a national level before this stuff happens, the less things like what we saw, entities that didn't represent anything, all of a sudden being the receptacles of tens of millions of dollars.
Yep.
Distorting all the whole sympathy and, even the goodwill of people who wanted to help this fight in some way. And but it shows that there's a huge leadership vacuum in this fight, and it comes from really decades of misleadership, really, because the only reason there was a BLM is because people were rejecting Sharpton, and a new one, he got bypassed in Ferguson, and for a long time he became irrelevant or relatively less, at least in relationship to this fight. But BLM, they couldn't, or they weren't trying to organize a fight around police brutality, despite that being the platform that being the fight that gave them a platform. And so that allowed Sharpton back into this thing on some kind of, to do what he always has done in the past. Fake the funk,
Absolutely.
And, but it's still a different time period, because, that's not really the case. And we exposed that again in 2021. Like, to the untrained eye, if you just looked at 2020 and you saw that massive rally in DC that Sharpton, was at the head of, you would have thought, like, wow, this guy has so much influence and power and ability to organize people. But that really had nothing to do with him or the capacity of his organization. He was totally riding the wave of this spontaneous upsurge. And that particular week, a high profile case just hit the news, and that was the Jacob Blake case. There were spontaneous demonstrations in every city. I know there was one in Boston, or a couple even. And this became kind of also the expression of that in DC. And that's why it was so big. It had nothing to do with what Sharpton was able to organize. But if you didn't know anything, and a lot of people don't, they don't have this history of this fight, so they're easily misled. And many people are still, still in the dark. But we exposed it in 2021, where he tried to organize another action. Same time we did. And then even Tamika Mallory tried to organize one. And they claim there was like 10,000. There may have been 2,000. He might have had 2,000 people in that march. And I don't know how many of them getting paid. But they barely had any families there. And, that's how they were trying to portray it both times. And they never really centered the fight around the families, around their demands. It was to, if anything, they pushed the George Floyd bill, but it was really about voting. And again, the George Floyd bill has some stuff in it around like qualified immunity, but nothing around reopening the cases.
Nothing.
Which, everyone's demanding. I don't know anyone who's not demanding that. So, and then Tamika, with all the groups, that they allegedly had co-sponsoring their event, and they were the reason we couldn't use the Lincoln Memorial. they didn't have any more people even than what we had in our demonstration. But our demonstration was pretty much all families, you know.
Yep.
The great majority of families were at the demonstration we organized, which showed that, you know, or it begged the question, who really speaks for the families? You know, you had three demonstrations all trying to represent that they were somehow in the leadership of this fight nationally. I mean, is that an exaggeration? That's exactly how they portray themselves, or how they're portrayed in the media. You know, they're the voices of this fight against police brutality. And that's, you know, that's the main platform. That's, you know, I mean, I don't know. We could talk about some of those things, but in any case, I think we answered the question. What we're trying to do clearly is, you know, more rooted in the fight of what the families themselves and what they're trying to do. And they're like, you know, different proposals on how this fight should be organized on display. 3 different, you know, methods. You know, we represent a grassroots method that I think is the only way to win. And you know, all these other groups are in a parasitical way relating to this fight. You know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, just even like the Until Freedom group. I mean, they moved their whole group to Louisville, just around one family. You know, that's weird. You know, I think it's kind of weird, but nobody talks about that. You know. Anyways, that's not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is build up every city, every family, you know, a local movement in every city that can work in coordination, you know, at least on a basic level, and really unleash and unlock the true power of this massive well of sentiment and goodwill towards this fight that wants a real authentic leadership, that's willing to follow something that was worthy of it. And that doesn't necessarily look to, you know, the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, you know, as a, you know, a prerequisite of whether or not they're gonna throw their support behind it. No, this is a popular fight, man. It's like, in some ways, you know, like the lyrics say, it's bigger than the government. You know, this is like a freedom. You know, this is a righteous battle, you know, and it's very inspiring to people. It's life changing. And it's, you know, it's the only other, you might try to point to a Trump rally, but there's really nothing similar that can mobilize this many people. You know, maybe a professional football game, a concert, I don't know, but not really, no. And in that case, you know, money's involved. This is, you know, people voluntarily taken to the streets. It's priceless. You know, they can't reproduce it. They can't give out money and reproduce that. That's the true power of what this is. You know, that's the true power of a mass movement. And that's the thing that it changes the whole scales. It changes, you know, how you measure things. I don't know. That's something like how I think Malcolm says something like that, you know, where, you know, we don't have the same ruler that the master has. You know, we have a different measuring stick. So, you know, we don't necessarily see the thing the same. So new things become possible when people are willing to support, but you can't really see that fully expressed. One, if you don't have the ability to organize it, but also if you squander that goodwill that exists, you know. And to me, those are the two ways where we, you know, where a lot was possible, that wasn't achieved. But you know, in some cases you saw miracles happen. I know we saw it like in Boston, like we had one like, you know, event where we raised thousands of dollars at a rally, you know, at a rally. You know, it helped us do the Mother's March, but it was all small contributions of just because there was like 1,000 people out there and people were just giving, they supported this fight. And that's what was out there, you know. But if you weren't organized, you would have known it, you know. And so yeah, so I just think that even when this fight is in its, you know, kind of low, relatively low right now, these kind of gatherings can be, you know, really, really important because they're gonna be the only thing we go on. The next thing, you know, something blows up. You know, this is all we got to go on, is what we're working with right now. But you know, I know at least during the George Floyd upsurge, like, you know, our group wasn't that active, but at least we had a group, you know?
Right.
And we were, because we had a group, we were able to take the initiative, you know, in the city. And we organized the first action. And a lot of people were trying to jump into the limelight, you know what I'm saying? So, but it's important that, you know, you at least are somewhat prepared for contingencies, because you may be called upon to act, you know.
Right.
And one day your actions, you know, are going to influence a lot of other people or even groups in what they may do. So I don't take it lightly, those who are still in this fight, because a lot of people tapped out, you know. A lot of people have tapped out, and some people have to step away. I mean, we all should step away at some point too, you know, here or there. But I mean, in a deeper sense, in a longer term sense, some people have stepped away because it's just a hard fight, man. But for me, like, I guess that's one thing, you know, I come back to Mel Reeves, man. That's why he's an inspiration for me, man.
Yes.
He's somebody who never gave up the fight, man, to his
Never.
last day. And so whenever things get a little too tough for me, I think about him. And you know, I get a little more juice to keep going. But it's really about, and that's the other thing too. That's why us gathering is important, because you know, we feed off each other, you know, like just us talking, you know, you know, it helps me to know you're out there, you know, that, you know, that I'm not alone, you know, that there's others out there, you know, we're not alone in this, like, and the truth is, you know, we're like the majority really, but we're just unorganized, man. We're not there yet. We're still not aware of our true power, you know. But you know, through this fight, you know, and others, you know, but this has been the most important fight of our time, I would argue. But we're finding authentic leaders, you know, and you know, to me, that's one thing, you know, that gives me hope, is that you know, there's just another new leaders emerging, and not necessarily from traditional ways either. You know, that's the other part of it I think is important, is like it doesn't matter where you've come from, you know, it's about what you stand for, and you know, what you're willing to do, you know. That really, I think, you know, is the kind of leadership we need. So to me, I don't know, just encourage people to come out. Also to not give up the fight either, or to be encouraged that this fight is still going on. I mean, it's
Right.
it's kind of the embers that flare up, every now and then, but
Mhm.
there'll be families there from all parts of the country. And we just hope to take a step to get more organized. We're going into an election year too, so it's bound to get crazy, in 2024.
Right.
And this fight, because it's so much at the center of U.S. politics, it's bound to be caught up in it somehow. So just I don't know. I guess my heart just really goes out to all the families. That's just the worst part of it. It's just behind this is just all this pain and destruction, man. But the encouraging side of it is that, people aren't taking it lying down, and
Mm-hmm.
it's really about our dignity and self-respect, and demanding to be respected, to me. And yeah, man. So I don't know. Whatever we do, we're just gonna, keep pushing. We're gonna try to do it together and
Mm-hmm.
do it better than we did the time we did it before,
Right.
So anyways, I appreciate you, letting me get on. I guess you can still, that's the one thing I should say, you can still register. If
Yeah, how
you're
can we
family,
register?
you couldn't, or you
No,
tried?
I say how. No, tell
Oh,
everybody how
okay,
can we register.
yeah.
Paul?
I don't know if I can. I'll put it in the chat, and but it's, maybe you can share it with the group, but it's
Okay.
bit.ly. I'm typing it now. Till we
Okay.
win. bit.ly/till we win DC is the. Now people can upload the image of their loved one, because we're going to be producing a banner, a couple banners with the images of the families who endorsed their loved one's image on the banner. But we have to, have a cutoff for that. So probably by the end of this week.
So I got a question.
Yeah.
When whoever goes to register, do it walk us through like easy how to upload our loved one picture?
Yeah. There's a link where you can do it.
Awesome. And then also after we get off here, do you mind sending the link directly to my phone? Because I thought I've been registered a while back, but I'm not sure. I want to make sure that I register.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you registered for this year. So I mean, you still might have got an email, because people, registered before we were sending emails to. But
okay.
I'm reading some of the comments here.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We got a whole lot of comments, so I'm glad you said that. So I want to go to see if our brother Marcellus is available. If not, if someone can read the comments and questions. Mic check.
Mic check. Marcellus is unfortunately not available, but I'll go ahead and read them. First up.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, of course. First up, we've got Judah, who says mic check. Bruce also says mic check. Bill says, glad to be here for this week's West Wednesday and the struggle for accountability for Tyrone West and all cases of police murder. Hillary says mic check. AC Britt says mic check. Gigi says mic check. AC Britt says, providing evidence is literally doing the state's attorney's job for them. They're supposed to investigate and gather evidence. It just shows how inept and in bed they are with the cops. Gigi says, that's right. Until we win, these violent capitalists who want to maintain police terrorism must be defeated. Bruce says, good evening, all. AC Brit says, so which day is the rally in front of the DOJ? Where's the meeting for the families and when? I don't know if you want to answer that now really quickly. Or
The rally's on Thursday, the 22nd, 11 to 2.
Perfect.
The meeting is at the hotel the following day. That'll be at the Days Inn by Wyndham in Alexandria, but that's from 9 to 3.
Okay. Thank you. Gigi says, look at what just happened with Cop City vote. Many people are opposed, but the city council went against the people's voice and voted yes to a facility that will arm police to engage in urban warfare. Yep, we all must sacrifice, whether it's not buying new clothes, traveling too much, finding joy in the simpler things that are free, choosing to think of the collective and not just yourself. They go on to say, it's hard, though, due to this individualistic culture, we really must come together. Yes, broad unity that is rooted in system change. Hillary says, thank you, Tawanda, for your tenacity, inclusion, and perseverance in this fight. Thank you for your honesty and for keeping the focus on impacted families. It's about accountability and the outcome. Gigi says, yes, misleadership. A lot of these so-called Black leaders just co-opt the people and will divert it to reforms and water down the change. Brock is really dropping gems. This is why joining an organization is key and why study and political education is key. You are right. Many people are not awake. They've been force-fed propaganda all their lives. Bill says, yes, Gigi, organization, political education, and struggle are key. And shared a link, although I'm not sure where it goes to. And that's it. Those are our comments.
Awesome. And thank you so much, Rachel, for that. So yeah, so my brother, I know you have another event that you have to do. Is there any more that you want to share with us?
Nah, just I hope people can make it out, and yeah, just till we win. I mean, this fight is far from over, and you know, best you can prepare your city, and the best we can, let's be in coordination so we can be a much bigger force.
Absolutely. And I just want to thank you for being real loyal, dedicated into the fight. Like, because a lot of times it's like, you know, people that are not like directly affected, they don't take this serious, but you have been taking it serious since. And I just want to give you a big shout out for that. Just being real, being who you are. And I know how many random attacks you get. It's just like all that food I've been told you about the Doug and Pony
Oh
show.
Lord,
There you want it. It all comes with this fight. It all comes with it. It's all a part of it. It's
yeah, it is.
disgusting, but it's a part of it. Unfortunately.
Brock, I have
Yep.
two questions. Sorry to break in. For those coming on Thursday at 11 o'clock, that's meetup is at the Washington Monument.
No longer. We're gonna be meeting at actually we gotta
The
update
DOJ.
the DOJ, 950 Pennsylvania Avenue.
And then we're staying there. There's not a march.
Right, it's just a rally.
Okay,
Sorry.
thanks.
Yeah, it's just no problem. It's just a rally, yes.
Yeah, I have to go, but I don't know if there's any last question or comment.
No, I just want to thank you. Just thank you so much, and we'll be in touch. And if you can, when you get a chance, send me that direct link so I can go on the register. And thank you so
I'll do
much.
that,
And we'll be
yeah.
talking.
Okay, and
Okay.
yeah,
Awesome.
much love and salute to West Wednesday, Tawanda, your inspiration.
Thank you.
You know, continue
Thank you.
till we win.
Till we win.
We be in the
Till we
trenches.
win. That's
All right,
right. Boots on the ground. All right. Peace.
Peace.
Peace. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And again, a big shout out to our brother Brock, who has been like loyal, dedicated, and all that. So you heard the information. It's going to be that Thursday. It kind of changed. We're gonna be meeting up at the DOJ for Raleigh Speak Out with all the impacted families from 11, I think, until like 2 o'clock, and then the next day it's gonna be at the hotel to kind of debrief with the families and things of that nature. So, and once he shared a link with me, I will share it with you guys on my Facebook page and different social media pages. So that way, if you haven't registered and if you're interested, or even if you can't make it, he said that for the impacted families, if you want your loved one's face to be a part of this big collage that they're doing, please, even if you can't make it, sending your loved one, images if you're comfortable with that. So yeah, just thank you. And thanks for everybody for commenting, Gigi, Bruce, Judah, just everybody, Adina, Hillary, just everybody. And if I missed anybody, I apologize. And yeah, but thank you guys. And just kind of want to check in. I know last week we actually read the names on the sad list. Um, I'm just kind of holding out this week, but I am going to get if our brother Brian is in queue to tell us how many names that are on there, as well as our Uncle Bill. But I'm definitely feel compelled to show respect by reading the names. I made that decision, but I just want to make sure we do it in a respectful way. And I want to have, like I'm working on something now so that way I'm not offending anyone who's not on there, or if we have to like say the name of someone that did something that may be horrible, because at the end of the day we don't know any of the victims personally. Like every now and then we might hear a name like, oh my gosh, I know him or her, which is kind of rare. But most of the times when we're reading these names up, we're just trying to uplift them as human beings. But we, like I said, don't want to offend somebody or whatever. So I'm just working on, neatening that up, and we'll be definitely with you in like maybe a few weeks, and we'll be reading the names, but adding that piece to it. So I'm gonna see if our brother Brian is in real quick to see how many names. But before we do that, but I want to check and see if he's still on here, because I would like to do 2 minutes of silence. But I just want to check to see if brother Brian is still in queue. Mic check.
Mic check. I'm still here, Twanda.
Awesome. So would you like to say or add anything before we, go into sending out love and being silent? Would you like to say anything?
No, I'm this week. I don't have anything particular to offer. I will. Let me just say before we start the signs, just since it's just going to be a number, that this week in Baltimore, 9 people since our last West Wednesday have died of violence, and that's a hard number. And I just pray that we can see it become 0, and that's all.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. And I guess while I'm checking in, I'll check in now with Uncle Bill just to see how many victims, unfortunately, that is on the list, and when. And it's so sad because on the list that we shared is from the Washington Post, it does not include the victims that were beat to death or whatever. It only deals with when a firearm from the police and they're murdered in that way. So my brother's name wouldn't have been on there. Freddie Gray's name wouldn't have been on there. So yeah, I'm gonna check in with Uncle Bill to see how many names are on his list. Mic check.
Mic check. Good evening. From May the 26th to June the 1st. That's as recent as the site has listed people killed by the police. During that 6 days, the police mowed down 12 more lives.
That is horrible. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. And would you like to say anything before we actually take our, 2 minutes of silence? Would you like to say anything?
Well, I'm planning on going to Washington on the 22nd, and I hope we have a good group going from Baltimore.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the support. I was just looking at a couple of photos that I actually shared. It was like back in like, oh my goodness, it was like, oh my goodness, like many years ago. Like I want to say maybe 2014. And I see you holding up the speaker on the top of your head. I shared that as I was advertising our West Wednesday this evening. So yeah, just thank you for being here with us and, just thanks. All right. So right now we're going to take 2 minutes. Those that, have religion, that believe in like, God and things like that. If you want to say a prayer to whoever you want to pray to, that is so fine. If you don't believe and you just believe in a spiritual realm or whatever, however, please just send nothing but positive vibes and know that these are families. And we're sorry that if we got the numbers, the numbers are not correct because we know that people are just getting murdered and it's just horrible all over. Like I said, no one deserves to be brutally murdered or anything. It's just so sad. And my heart goes out because I was listening to the news and I learned yesterday, like literally, you make it through high school. You make it through high school and the challenges that come with high school and things like that. And I've been really happy seeing all the graduation, prom celebrations, just all that wonderful stuff. But to have it interrupted and you have a father and son killed at a high school graduation. And if I got all the facts straight, and it wasn't here, but I don't care where it was, it still happened. And it's just sad and horrible. And then I think I heard that a 9-year-old child that was actually trying to run because everybody, of course, broke out. The poor baby actually got hit by a car. Like, these are the real times. So all I'm asking for, and even though we named the victims and not named the victims, but we gave you a list you know of Baltimore victims, and then we gave you the national list of police brutality from the Washington Post. But again, we're praying for everybody over, like all around the world, just everywhere. My heart goes out. So let's just take 2 minutes of just silence, just sending nothing but positive vibes. Prayers if you pray, whatever you want to do, let's do it for these 2 minutes that, like Brian said, maybe one day that we will never have a sad list. Maybe one day there's just nothing be but nothing but joy. So let's take 2 minutes starting now. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. Thank you guys so much for tuning into West Wednesday tonight. And I just want to end on a positive note before we take you out with the video that we started you guys with. And that's unfortunately one of the first repeat violent offenders, Ruiz. Like, we don't play that video just for entertainment. We play that video because we want him not only fired, we want him prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And I hope he's watching right now. But nevertheless, just on some positive stuff, remember, you know, life is worth living. It's enjoyable, even though we have our ups and downs. And I feel like the past couple of weeks, the month of May was like, oh my goodness. But at the same time, because throughout me feeling like I was in crisis situations, I had so much to reflect and be grateful for. My daughter graduating, my baby prom, like all that stuff is wonderful. So don't let life take you out and just only focus on the horrible stuff, because we have horrible stuff that unfortunately happens every day, every second. Find that place of love, find that place of peace, because I'm telling you, baby, life is worth living. Remember, live to love to live. I love you all. And we will see you guys next week. And we will be out in the streets. Yeah, I'm announcing early. We will be out in the streets next West Wednesday if you want to join us on Green Mountain 33rd at 6:30 p.m. So if you can continue on watching this video, but remember, live to love to live. Love you all. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
And Mr. West begging for his life, and Mr. Salam begging for his child to be excluded and comforted from what was taking place. Not for himself, but for his 3-year-old child.
Case number 4, Adina Britt and family, September 10th, 2015.
My name is Adina Britt, and I wanted to submit a 30-second testimonial that Jorge Omar Bernardez Ruiz is one of the 11 terrorists that came into my house performing a home invasion in September 2015, terrorizing my entire family and even holding my 12-year-old son at gunpoint. He needs to be stopped.
Case number 5, unidentified arrestee, assaulted in 2016.
I suggest you back the fuck up.
Again, this video did not surface until the summer of 2020. Case 6, Thomas McCullough, May 2016 and February 2017.
I heard my front door coming off the hinges, like it exploded.
Thomas McCullough says it happened twice. In May 2016 and February 2017, Baltimore City Police burst through his green front door and raided his Pimlico home.
They said, police. They come up, shotguns, guns.
He says officers ransacked the place, looking for drugs, money, and weapons. He took pictures of the damage he says they left behind.
Tell us where the drugs are, the scales, the guns, and the large amounts of money.
Nothing was found. Now he's suing police, claiming officers, including a former member of the Gun Trace Task Force, frightened him, his wife, and father-in-law when the officers conducted what his suit calls an illegal search of his home. The owner of the house tells 11 News after the second raid, he had to replace the front door. McCullough and his attorney say they want Baltimore police held accountable.
There is a colossal breach of trust.
And McCullough tells us following both raids, no one was arrested or charged.
This all begs the question, when will Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby see the prosecution of Bernardez Ruiz as warranted?
They were the stopping officers in these so-called jump-out cars, unmarked and so forth, that stopped both the West vehicle and the Salam vehicle without probable cause. And these officers are the ones that also were joined by others, but they are the ones who initiated the stops, pulled both men out of the vehicles, and commenced the vicious activity that was thrust upon them.
And the officer Ruiz that started this attack is still working with promotions. He is now sergeant. But the fact that this repeat violent offender had a history leading up to my brother. There was Darrell Harris, there was James Green, Joseph Green, Abdul Salam, and my sister Adina and her family. No one family deserves to be brutally murdered or brutalized by this repeat violent offender Ruiz. It is time we take action. The time is now.
Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender. Based on these accounts, in accordance with the law, we, the West Coalition, call for him to be fired, prosecuted, and incarcerated.
We're more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on t-shirts. Our lives matter.
For the safety of our city, the prevention of further harm, and the justice for these families, we see no other option.
And again, I'll say, the time is now.